Hello, everybody. Welcome to Coach Chloe, the journey of self love. Today's episode 29, and it is part 8 of our series Tips and Tools to Hack Your Thoughts. Imagine this: every time you say yes to someone else, are you saying no to yourself? Boundaries aren't just polite requests or gentle guidelines. Today, we're going to be talking about mastering the art of boundaries. Boundaries are your life's framework, a shield that guards your peace, your energy, your purpose. Without boundaries, you're pretty much inviting the world to shape you on its terms. So, are you living for yourself or are you losing yourself to others' needs and demands? Today, we're exploring this ultimate act of self love: boundaries. This isn't about pushing people away, it's about claiming your life, standing in your worth, and taking charge of what you allow in. You see, when you draw that line, you're telling the world, this is who I am, this is what I deserve. You're also saying that to yourself. So don't go anywhere. When we're back, I'll share powerful tools to build and protect the life you meant to live. Get ready to hack your thoughts by mastering the art of boundaries. Welcome back, and let's dive into boundaries. Today, we're talking about setting boundaries that aren't just fences, but foundations. Foundations for a life where you can be respected, you can be valued, and free to thrive. Because if you don't take charge of your life's boundaries, guess what? Someone else will. So, why do boundaries matter? They are essential because they create the space for you to for the need to feel safe, to be respected, to be valued. Without clear boundaries, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, to feel drained, and even resentful. When you don't set boundaries, you pretty much telling others that their needs are more important than your own. But the truth is, your needs matter most. Boundaries are an expression of self respect, it's an expression of self love, and it's a deep commitment to living a life that's aligned with your true desires. Boundaries help you maintain control over your life, protect your energy, and ensure that your emotional and physical space is respected. After being in a marriage for 25 years, a marriage that ripped away my identity, my sense of self, my ability to explore all my God given talents, and to find my expression in this world, that was taken away from me. The day my marriage ended, I stopped all communication with my ex husband. I knew that was a non negotiable boundary I had to put up. There was no communication for 2 years, even though we shared a child. And my son at that time was, about 20, so it was fine. I didn't want his voice in my head. I didn't want my ex husband's voice in my head. I felt I needed to press a reset button to clear the cache of my thoughts and mindsets. It's like, when you want to clear a history or the cache on your computer, you go and you clear it out so it resets. I felt that's what I needed to do. Because up to that point, my makeup was all tied to him and how he made me feel. I had to put up boundaries so that I could learn who I was on my journey of self love. And that meant shutting down communications. Now, shutting down a communications is not always great. It's being able to still speak and say what your boundaries are. But sometimes just separating yourself gives you the space to do that or to build yourself up. So, how do we set healthy boundaries? It starts with self awareness. Reflect on the areas in your life where you feel drained, where you feel resentment, or you even feel taken advantage of. Ask yourself, where do I feel overextended or uncomfortable? Are there situations or relationships where I'm saying yes out of guilt or obligation rather than genuine desire? What do I need to feel safe, to feel respected, to feel valued? Once you identify where your boundaries need strengthening, you can begin to establish clear, firm limits. So, some tips for setting boundaries would be clear and direct. Communicate your boundaries openly and without apology. It's essential to be honest about what you need and what you're comfortable with. Another tip for setting boundaries is use I statements. Frame your needs from your own perspective rather than pointing fingers. For example, say something like, I need to leave by 6 p.m., rather than, you always keep me late at work, or you always keep me late at wherever. The third tip for setting boundaries would be respect others' boundaries. Boundaries are reciprocal. Just as you want your boundaries respected, ensure you respect the boundaries of others. Let's talk about the power of saying no. Right. That's a real toughie. One of the most powerful ways to set a boundary is by simply saying no. And I'm saying simply saying no is not that simple at all. It might feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to people pleasing or you avoid conflict. But saying no is a crucial form of self care. When you say no, you're saying yes to yourself, your time, your energy, your peace of mind. Start small by saying no to less significant things and gradually work your way up to more challenging situations. Remember, you don't owe anyone any explanation for your boundaries. No is enough. I've had to say no to friends and colleagues, people who took away my confidence. I had to put them out of my life. But for how long? Until I knew my voice, until I owned my voice. Once those boundaries shifted, once I was grounded in my own voice, and no one and nothing defined me, but I defined myself, I was ready for new boundaries. I was ready to open the door to the relationships and to have conversations, courageous conversations. So, one thing about boundary setting is overcoming the guilt. There's guilt always attached. That's the common barrier when we're setting boundaries. We feel guilty when we put ourselves first, especially if we've been conditioned to prioritize others. But guilt is a natural emotional response and it doesn't have to control you. Reframe your thinking. Instead of thinking, I'm letting them down, try thinking, I'm showing them respect by being honest about what I can give. Think about that shift. Setting boundaries is an act of self love, not selfishness. Over time, this guilt will lessen and setting boundaries will feel more natural. So, when my son moved out to start his own journey, I was so lost. For years, it was just him and I. So the tendency to call him and text him was so strong. I wanted to hear his voice. I wanted to know if he was okay. I felt that if I didn't check in, then he would think I didn't care enough. I had to let go of that guilt as a mom. I also had to let go of the guilt for not wanting to reach out to him because I realized I needed to learn how to be alone outside of him. So it was twofold. Boundaries in relationships are really important, whether it's family, it's friends, it's romantic partners. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, and that includes respecting each other's boundaries. If someone consistently oversteps your boundaries, it's essential to address it calmly and directly. If the person refuses to respect your boundaries, You might need to reevaluate that relationship and decide what's best for your well being. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you don't love or care for someone. In fact, boundaries can strengthen relationships by ensuring both parties are treated with respect. Your boundaries are a direct reflection of your self worth. When you set boundaries, you're telling the world, I deserve to be treated with respect. Boundaries protect your time, your emotions, your energy. It ensures that you're living in alignment with your values and your desires. If you struggle with setting boundaries, it may be helpful to reflect on your self worth. Do you believe you're worthy of respect, of love, of care? Setting boundaries is one of the most powerful ways to reinforce your self worth and show that you value yourself. Once you've identified your boundaries, the next step is communicating them effectively. Now, this can be challenging, especially if the people around you aren't used to your new boundaries. But remember this, setting boundaries is an act of self-care, not control. It's not control. It's about taking care of yourself and creating space for your personal growth. So when you're communicating your boundaries, use I statements to express your needs clearly and compassionately. For example, I need time to recharge after work. So I'm going to avoid any evening commitments during the week. Or I feel overwhelmed when I take on too many tasks. I need to say no to this request. Also, approach these conversations with compassion for both you and the other person. Understand that change can be difficult for them too. But just because it's uncomfortable doesn't mean it's wrong. Another thing that we have a struggle with is dealing with pushback. We can set our boundaries. Not everyone's going to react positively to your boundaries, and that's okay. Some people may push back, put you on a guilt trip, or try to overstep. When this happens, stay firm in your decisions. Remember, your well being is worth protecting, even if it means disappointing someone. If someone tries to guilt trip you or cross your boundaries, calmly restate your limits without apologizing. You don't owe anyone an explanation for taking care of yourself. It's okay to say, I understand you upset, but this is what I need right now. And remember, it's okay to walk away from situations or relationships that repeatedly disregard your boundaries. Letting go of people or situations that don't respect your boundaries is another very powerful act of self love. Boundaries aren't set in stone, so they evolve as you grow. What worked for you a year ago might not work today, and that's perfectly normal. As you grow and heal and change, so too will your needs and your limits. So regularly check in with yourself to see if your boundaries still serve you. Are there areas in your life where you need to strengthen your boundaries? Or areas where you could soften them? Boundaries are about creating space for what you need, and they should also reflect who you are in the moment. You know, but never forget that we also have to honor the boundaries of others while we're honoring our boundaries. Just as you deserve to have your boundaries respected, it's important to respect the boundaries of others. When someone sets a boundary, see it as an act of self love on their part. Respecting boundaries of others helps foster mutual understanding and strengthens the relationships you value. So, here are a few takeaways. Boundaries are not walls. Setting boundaries is not selfish, it's an essential part of your self care and self love. Saying no is saying yes to yourself. And respect others' boundaries as an act of love and mutual respect. What's one area of your life where you struggle with boundaries? Just reflect on that. And what is a boundary that you need to put in place? What are areas in your life where you feel your boundaries need to be strengthened? And how will you practice respecting the boundaries of others? So think about that, because these are tips and tools to hack how you master your boundary setting. Next episode is about forgiveness is freedom. Excited to share that. I'm excited to that you are taking this journey with me. It's a honor to walk alongside you, to share these thoughts and to explore what it means to truly, truly love ourselves. My hope is that you leave today with a renewed sense of self worth, self compassion, and self love. Remember, this journey is your journey. You get to decide how it unfolds. Trust yourself, be patient with yourself, and most importantly, love yourself every step on your journey of self love. Who you are becoming is greater than who you were yesterday. See you soon.